أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفينا مولانا Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah. The topic I'm going to speak about is Islam created the modern world. The world we're living today is the world of our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Westerns made sure they kept this away from us in history. The advent of our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the noble Quran transformed the entire world, including the simple wandering Bedouins of the desert, into founders of a new civilization, builders of cities and collectors of libraries. When the monks had 10 books in the libraries, Muslims had millions of books. Our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam laid the foundation of an Islamic civilization. He released humankind from the bondage of men. This led to the most groundbreaking scientific inventions by Muslims. Muslim civilization created the conditions for the birth of the Renaissance. The Renaissance that happened in Europe did not start with nothing. This rebirth was not something the Europeans invented. They just learned everything from the Muslims. It was the influence of Islam in Andalus, Cordoba. Muslims gave Western Christians their science, medicine, music, food, clothing, poetry, philosophy, mathematics. Ibn Haytham, if he did not invent algorithm, we wouldn't be sitting with a cell phone today. Muslims pulled Europe out of the Dark Ages into enlightenment. This is the truth that the Renaissance myth, the myth of the Renaissance tried to hide the truth. The Prophet Muhammad came with a revolutionary message that created a new destiny for the Arabian Peninsula that stretched beyond the sands of Arabia. This powerful message of the Quran had a tremendous influence on the whole world. An enormous intellectual revolution known as the scientific revolution of modern times is a byproduct of the advent of Islam. It was a progressive, intellectually conscious culture that was to sweep throughout the whole of Europe. There was no Newton without Thabit ibn Qurra. Thabit ibn Qurra, who actually invented the law of gravity in 826 AD. Isaac Newton claimed that an apple fell on his head. That's how he discovered gravity. He must have been reading Thabit ibn Qurra's works. Thabit determined the solar calendar, I'm talking about 828 AD. The length of the year, 365 days, 6 hours, 9 minutes and 12 seconds. Thabit ibn Qurra published his observation of the sun. Even Copernicus based his claim on the research of Thabit. Islam has an incredible story, one that was being systematically written out of history by European historians. Even in Saudi Arabia today, they go back to the Saudi, or what they call it, the Arabian culture, pre-Islamic culture. They're finding rocks and stones because Europe wants to make sure that there's a tunnel between Islam and today. It was a noble Quran, now Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who inspired the inventors, who changed the world with their numerous innovations that are taken for granted in daily life of today. Muhammad ibn Battuta, in the 13th century, was regarded as one of the greatest Moroccan travelers of all times. Over a period of 30 years, he traveled the entire world. His journeys included the known Muslim world, including North Africa, the Horn of Africa, West Africa, Middle East, India, Central Asia and China. Christopher Columbus was very reliant on the cutting edge technology and the works of navigation by Muslims. The navigator of Columbus' expedition was a Muslim. The Spanish, Italians and the entire Europe knew very well that when it came to navigation, trigonometry and the various mathematical sciences needed for navigation, there was no better than a Muslim. Hamza Yusuf said that Muslims came into America 500 years ago. And there's a mosque that still stands in a city called Medina in Illinois. I Googled it, and Medina is still in Illinois. And there's another city in the south, which I cannot remember the name. The first university in the world was S02 in Tunisia, was established in 731. Famous alumni include the scholar Abdul Rahman ibn Khaldun. We know Ibn Khaldun, his works, the Muqaddimah, was a masterpiece. Ibn Khaldun was a brilliant mind, referred to as the godfather of sociology, geography and history. At the age of 17, he was already mastering the classical understanding of the Quran, Arabic linguistics, fiqh, sharia, hadith, maths, logical thinking, philosophy. In the Muqaddimah, he covers various aspects of life. Karl Marx, Durkheim and Weber plagiarized his work. The amount of plagiarizing that was going on is unbelievable. The Al-Qarabian University was established in 859, located in Fez, Morocco, founded by a Muslim woman, a young princess, Fatima Al-Firi, and her sister, Maryam, who were educated and brought up with religious devotion. They inherited a large amount from their father, a successful businessman, and developed one of the most leading universities in the world on natural sciences. This university is today considered the oldest continuously operational university in the world by the Guinness Book of Records. Libraries, hospitals, universities sprang up and flourished in the Muslim world. Great centers of learning, excellence were established in cities such as Baghdad, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, Islamabad, Samarkand, Bukhara, Cordoba, and Timbuktu. The first world-class state-of-the-art hospital and university was built in Baghdad. The most groundbreaking achievements include astronomy, astrophysics, anthropology, biology, neuroscience, psychology, economics, social sciences, geography, earth science, mathematics, chemistry, alchemists, physicists, ophthalmology, pharmacy, architecture, botany and political science. Many modern surgical instruments are exactly the same design as those devised in the 10th century by a Muslim surgeon called Al-Zarawi. His scalpel, bone saws, forceps, fine scissors for eye surgery were practiced in the 8th century. Think of a world where computers, schools, universities, pharmacies, and hospitals didn't exist. All because of Islam, we are sitting with this modern world today. Ibn al-Haytham in the 10th century, mathematician, astronomer, and physicist, invented the pinhole camera after noticing the way light came through a hole in window shutters. The smaller the hole, the better the picture. He worked out and set up the first camera from the Arab word kamara for a darker private room. Hassan Ali al-Qasadi is best known for his work in mathematics, a subject in which he wrote at least 11 major works. The most significant was Tafsir fil al-Hisab. Al-Farabi, his works were established into Latin, Hebrew. His philosophy still remains valid today. Muslims made a great contribution to Hebrew lexicology. They won't admit it. The windmill was invented in 634, sails covered with fabric and palm leaves. It was only 500 years before the first windmill was seen in Europe. What would the world be without, or like in the modern day system numbers from 1 to 0, 1 to 10. 0 was invented by the Muslims. Ali ibn Hayyan came in Cordoba in the 9th century and brought with him the concept of 3-course meal. The 3 meals a day. Abbas ibn Farnas introduced crystal glass, which had been invented after experiments with rock crystal. When crystal used to go into Europe, they thought it was something religious. They used to treasure it. They worshipped crystal. When the Crusaders came to Andalus, they did not leave empty-handed. They took with them knowledge, inspiration, and stunned Europe with what the Muslims invented. Muslims have left their fingerprints in every field of human endeavor. In the words of George Sarton, the renowned historian of science, the Western writers are now admitting it, that the contribution that Muslims made to civilization. He said the main task of mankind was accomplished by Muslims. The greatest philosopher, Al-Farabi, the greatest mathematician, Abu Kamil, and Ibrahim ibn Sina, the greatest geographer and encyclopedias were invented by Muslims. By Al-Masudi, the greatest historian, Al-Tabari, all were Muslims. It was time when Al-Bayruni and Khwarizmi, Ibn Sina, and Razi, more than 1,000 scientists shaped the modern sciences. Today there's a book written about the 1,001 inventions of Muslims over the years. And Briffault says, historian says, science owes a great deal more. To Muslim culture, it owes its existence. He further comments that had it not been for much Muslim upsurge, modern European civilization would not have risen at all. The following is a letter from King George II of England to Hisham III, who ruled Cordoba, at least Andalus. He was seeking permission for the English princess to study in Cordoba. He says the letter reads as follows: from George II, King of England, Sweden and Norway, to the Khalif of the Muslims of the Kingdom of Spain, His Majesty Hisham III. We have been advised that science, knowledge, technology and industry are far advanced in your country. Therefore, we wish to take the opportunity for our youth to benefit from your achievements, as our country lacks in these facilities and is in total darkness. We hope this opportunity will give us the chance to follow in your footsteps, to illuminate our people with knowledge. My niece, Princess Dabat, and a group of noble English girls seek the favor of your academic staff with the honor of your favor to bestow upon us the opportunity to achieve our goal. The young princess is carrying a gift for your majesty. Your acceptance will honor us, your obedient servant, George II. The world we live in today is the world of our Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Before the advent of our Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the whole world was in total chaos. Law and order did not exist. The Muslims came into Europe, ruled Spain for 700 years. Medieval Europe was a classical rat hole. The Muslims came in from Africa and cleaned it up. The Muslim gave the European science falsely terms as Western science. Muslim gave them commerce. Muslims taught them architecture, precise architecture. Up to today in Cordoba, that Muslim mosque that was there, they couldn't, the Crusaders or the Christians could not destroy it because architecture was so beautiful, it's unbelievable. The Muslim gave Europe culture. Muslim gave them governance. Muslim gave them libraries. And Muslim taught them hygiene, because the Prophet 1400 years ago taught us how to make wudu and taharat. Muslim built great cities, Granada, Cordoba, in Europe I'm talking about now, Toledo and other cities in Europe. There were over 100 cities in the world, Egypt, Baghdad, Tunisia. Patrick Susskind in his book wrote, the stench in European cities in the Middle Ages was unbearable. The terrible smell of human feces and urine in the streets, decaying wood, red dung, animal fat, moldy dust, and chamber pots. This was the order of the day in Europe. They have to thank the Muslims. They deliberately made sure. You see, stench used to be an inseparable part of human activity. The stench in Europe cities was unbearable. Personal hygiene did not exist. People did not bath in medieval Europe. Queen Isabel of Spain confessed that she had taken a bath only twice in her lifetime, when she was born and when she got married. An ambassador to France said Louis XVI stank like a wild animal. He only bathed twice in his lifetime. The Pope himself bathed only once a year. For peasants, a toilet was a bucket in the corner of the house, which was tossed into the river, or a bucket behind the house, or a tree in the forest. That was the toilets. Water for cooking and bathing came from the same river. This is why they thought bathing will make them ill. And when they were ill, they had a big room, they should just lie there and die. Muslims invented the first hospital in Baghdad. That's another story we'll talk about. The church persecuted inventors, scientists with blind cruelty, torturing them, burning them at the stake. Christians, Jews, and Muslims lived in Cordoba, and Muslims allowed them to thrive and keep their churches. The most influential achievements by Muslim scholars were balanced in the spiritual and material endeavors. The past is as important as the present. Without understanding the past, we will not understand our present conditions. Without understanding the present, we will not be able to shape the future. Our past, present, and future are interconnected. The main purpose of history is to remind us of who we are, what our role and purpose is, and to learn lessons from the past. The West, I say, has stolen ideas of the Muslims' knowledge. Knowledge is free, obviously. But if you do not attribute it or acknowledge the contribution of the Muslims, then that is plagiarism. What is very striking about all these great scientists, mathematicians, is that they studied the Noble Quran more than anything else. The Noble Quran is not only a source of inspiration for Muslims, especially in difficult times, such as the ones our brilliant thinkers lived in, but it repeatedly calls on us to reflect on the universe. Remember, when we read the Quran with the heart, then Allah inspires us. It's amazing the manner in which He inspires us. The miracles of the Quran, the miracles of the Kaaba, speaking about Baghdad and each city. I mean, Cordoba itself had 10 kilometers of road, had lights in the street for 700 years. When the Europeans used to come there, they said, this is a model. But we had 100 of those cities. What happened to them? Inshallah, next talk, I was just telling Parvez, maybe we should do a series of talks and cover the whole spectrum of what the Muslims did for civilization. With these few words, I want to thank you. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters.
تبسم وخل الهموم وخل الغموم وخل الضجر